provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. This is me, Ms. Rhonda B., coming to you for another episode of the Mary T. Perspective. Today we have with us, of course, host, Ms. Mary T. Welcome. And then I'm going to be her co-host, Ms. Rhonda B. And then we have a gentleman here from Prairie State College. He's an elected official. You're on the trustee board?
Yes.
And Mr. Wendell
Mosby.
Mosby?
Yes.
Mr. Wendell Mosby. So we'll start out with Mr. Mosby telling us exactly what it is that you do there at Prairie State, and is this your first elected position?
Yes, this is my first elected position. I was elected in April of this year, and my role as a trustee, from training, they tell us that we are the guardians of the college, of the public trust, and what that means is that we create policy and ensure that the president holds him accountable in his administration for implementing those policies.
Okay, and then what brought you to the poll? What made you decide, oh, I want to be a trustee?
Well, I've always been in some form of student government. In high school, I was vice president of student council. In college, I was a senator for 2 years, and I ran for president of our student body. Always had aspirations for public office. And
now, did you attend Prairie State?
No, I did not. I took a few courses up there during the summer.
Okay. Are you a college graduate?
Yes.
And what
yes.
school did you?
I have a bachelor's of science from Iowa State University.
Okay. No.
Cyclone.
Cycle.
And so now, do you do any outreach to the community? What's your vision? I know as a role of the trustee, you're the shepherd. You're to oversee to make sure those who are in power are doing what they're doing, supposed to be doing. And then, but obviously, there's 24 hours in a day. So what are some of your aspirations and visions?
Well, I ran on my platform of 4 components to that platform. One being 21st century jobs, making sure that Prairie State is aligned with the Department of Labor's occupational handbook. So the outlook for jobs, making sure that the programs that they have are looking at 21st century. If we know that manufacturing is pretty much obsolete in our community, then we need to be shifting to whatever the next industry is. If you talk to Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr., he'll tell you for the Southland, it's service, it's tourism, and we need to be looking at it from a standpoint of those type of opportunities. Secondly, community involvement. Prairie State represents 19 communities, and I think that it's important that they reach out, that they're present in all of the communities that we represent, and we're bringing people in to see what's going on with the tax dollars within the community. Okay. The third one is student accountability. I think that not only holding the administration and the president accountable, we also need to make sure that we hold the students accountable and that we have some expectations for them to be successful. I think for far too long that we give them a pass, and we shouldn't. I'm going to hold the president's feet to the fire, but the students need to come there and take care of business. It's not a free ride. It's taxpayers' dollars that a lot of the students are there on, and they need to graduate or accomplish whatever that goal was. And then student success. Student success, just what it is, making sure that a student that comes there, that they're successful at accomplishing, whether it be a certificate program, associates, or, I mean, if they're in our adult education, just making sure that they're successful. And so those are the 4 components that I ran on. And I think that pretty much I'm working towards those objectives.
So how was the board? How's the dynamics on the board?
The dynamics of the board, we, for the first time in Prairie State's short history of 50 years, plus give or take, that we have 3 African Americans on the board. It's the first time we've ever had that much African American representation on the board. We have 2 males and one female. And
so it's yourself, Mark Wiley,
and Trustee Bernetta Hill Corley. Yes. And so So there's a shift in the reflection that the board is looking more like who we represent, which means that, and some people may discount that having representation is significant, but being able to speak to those experiences. I mean, I'm from Chicago Heights. I grew up in a Beacon Hill community. Mom was an ex-con, died of HIV/AIDS, single parent. I think that there's some relativity to a lot of the students that are going to Prairie State. It's 55% African American. So
how many members on the board?
it's 7 members on the board and a student trustee.
Okay, so it's now you got to sort of split.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And so I think just being able for us to be represented there, I spoke with a group of our young men at the college, and I told them, I said, now we have a seat at the table. And so their voices can be heard. I'm taking a class at Prairie State, and I'm not surprised nor shocked at how many students that don't know what the trustee is, that we meet every month, nor do they understand the power that they actually possess.
Yeah, and more than like anything else in life, you only care when it affects you, when it directly affects you, because everything affects you.
Well, but I think that my grandmother was a community organizer, very active.
Oh, okay.
And the class I'm taking at Prairie State now is American government. And so
Mary needs to be in that
so
class.
we're dissecting the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the Federalist Papers. And it's definitely given me a different perspective of the significance and the importance of those documents. And my grandmother was never the type that sat on the sidelines. And that's why, I'm a young elected official, but I've never been a spectator.
Right.
I've only played the game.
You have a lot in common with Mary.
Yeah,
First of all, because she, when you're retaking that class, because you were introduced to it as a young kid.
Yes.
But Mary, she just told the elected official who we interviewed prior just that very thing. She took her civics class and her American government class very serious, and so she would enjoy relearning that today based on what you know.
I'm telling you, it has the way my perspective on being a public official, civic duty, and I think that that's what's missing out of today's society. I think that because communities are so transient, there's no village anymore, and I think that those are the values that my family instilled in me, and my family is very active in the Chicago Heights community. We have 2 other elected officials in my family, and we take every breath that we have. We thank God for it, and we make the best of it. And I think that that's one of the things that hopefully that I can bring to the community from a vantage point of a young adult, that hey, you should care about who's on your library board. You should, when you're walking down the street, pick up some paper if you see it. You should care about those type of things, and it's not about just when something happens to you. Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer wasn't thinking about poor Wendell Mosby when they did what they needed to do. And I think that's what we really need to get back to, those type of things.
Message, because Harriet Tubman was already free,
Right.
and she could have stayed on that free side, but she went back so that other people could have the same opportunity.
Exactly.
That's a good example, because in your case, you had your college education. You could have moved on to something else, to another community, looking for a higher standards, as they say, move it on up. But instead, you decided to come back to the community and do some good within your community. Right in Chicago Heights. I applaud you for and you're reaching out, and you're not too proud to say, let me revisit this, let me look at it again to make sure I'm getting a total picture that I can, I can't say that. That's why you're here today. That's why you're here. And when I see you out in the public at different places, and I told you I was going to be talking to you later on, I didn't know it would take this long, and I thought you had a good message, and I talked about how long and where are your admirations for government? Where you intend to go from here? Where would you ultimately like to be as far as in the political world?
Well, as far as aspirations for future political endeavors, I've been in my role 6 months. My term is 6 years.
You got a minute.
I have a lot of room to grow. I have a lot of room to grow as a young man. I mean, I'm a father of a 14-year-old who's a freshman at Rich East. So I'm not going to be too premature about saying where my final destination will be. All I can tell you is that I'll be prepared for whatever opportunity presents itself.
Now, how did you end up taking the course? Did someone on the board suggest that?
I'm considering going to get a master's degree in public administration.
Okay.
And so it's like, what kind of class would help get me going, get my juices going again, that I knew wouldn't be just a lecture style, but it would be interactive and something that I really could learn a lot from.
Now, you actually in the class, you're going to be graded and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
Oh.
it's an 8 o'clock class, and so it's been, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. Reading the Federalist Papers again by James Madison and talking about factions and different things, it really has helped shed a different light on how you govern and why we govern the way we do in America.
Now, do your peers in the class, do they know you're already a college graduate?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Well, there's some other college grads in there that are going to get their master's degrees at GSU, so at Governor State. So.
And they come back for prerequisites or to a refresher.
Yes.
But
So that'll be transferable to your master's program?
No, not
because
for me.
that's no, it's like a preparatory type thing, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
No, I'm
very
just
good. I understand that.
the young kids in the classes. I just wondered if it's like an incentive for them, so that they'll know, okay, this is doable, this is possible.
Well, I think it's a part of their humanities or some component.
No, I'm just talking about as far as just being associated with someone who's already walked that walk.
Yeah. So it's different. It's definitely
Do
different.
they know who you are, that you're a trustee?
But you like the elder.
No, actually, I'm not. There's
You're not? Okay.
there's a gentleman that was in the Navy who's coming back to school,
Okay.
and there's another woman there who's probably old enough to be my mother.
Okay.
So.
That's fine.
And now if I come along, I'd really be
But they don't know. The professor asked me if he wanted me to let everybody know who I was, and I said no if the opportunity presents itself, but I really wanted to see the students in their natural habitat, so I didn't want to skew the things that they shared and talked about if they had a grab with the college. I'm sure that some of them, we had some new student convocation, and I was introduced, so if any of them were there, they know that I'm a trustee, but I didn't want to just...
You
Make
didn't
that
want any
part of the
apprehension.
class.
Okay.
Right. You didn't want to make that part of the class.
Okay, but let's back up a little bit. I was out here in the public when you were doing candidate forums, when you were running for office, and we conducted a candidates forum, and you were there.
Yes.
We invited you to speak then. And what I was alarmed at is when going to the public about this, so many people don't know how important it is for them to vote on a trustee, and they don't know the people that are even running for trustee in these other communities. And you have how many communities? 19 communities. That's a lot of people.
Yes.
And these are their tax dollars.
Correct.
And I wanted to bring you to the public here so you can see it. My show is not reaching, the Mary T. Perspective show is not reaching a whole, but it does go out through the suburbs into the area that you do represent. That's why I thought it was so important that you be here today. And I want them to understand that it's very important for them to know who their trustees are and the kinds of things, and that you are reachable. You can walk up to you and talk to you, and you are a human being. You're out there working for them, and you're trying to do some things for the community. Now, you talked about the programs. You talked about the jobs program, 20th Century Job. Now, I happen to know that Caterpillar is looking to hire about 400 people, and yet we don't, in this country, these jobs will probably go abroad because we don't have the people in these jobs. We don't have the people to fill these jobs. So as a community college missing out on these kinds of things, when you say that manufacturing, like welding and engineering, what are the community colleges doing as an outreach to go to the high schools and say, these are the kind of jobs of the future? Then you need to major in these groups, because so many of them, our students don't know this because they're not getting this from home. And if you're not getting it in the high schools, Can community, just tell me, what's going on over there? You've told me some of the things as far as that jobs program is concerned.
Well, Prairie State is a part of the Illinois WorkNet.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have Illinois. We have an office there
Mm-hmm.
in our Adult Training and Outreach Center, which means that whether you're coming back somebody's coming back to get their GED, or somebody's coming, they're in transition and
Mm-hmm.
they want to be retrained, this is a place they'll come through the WIA dollars, the Workforce Investment Act.
Mm-hmm.
So individuals can be retrained to pursue another career interest. As far as the outreach, what's going on in the college, the high schools, like I said, I've been there 6 months. There's a lot of units to Prairie State that I really haven't had an opportunity yet to sink my teeth into, but I know that we do have the admissions counselors do attend the high schools. We do have a program called Pipeline to College, which is it was funding through the federal government through being a publicly black institution, since we're over 50%. And so we were able to secure dollars to go into high schools and focus on the black men, the young males, about college from freshman year on to senior year, to talk to them about what it takes to be ready for college, the type of opportunities that are out there, and to help craft their minds to take advantage of some of those opportunities. On the wide scope, what we're doing, I'm not sure yet. But one of the things I have been very interested in what we're doing in our economic and community development, as far as the outreach we're doing. One of the things that Lieutenant Governor Sheila Simon, she was at the college a couple days ago, and we're talking about preparing the workforce. You're talking about why would Caterpillar or another company look to come into the Prairie State District if the workforce isn't educated and ready to work? And so I sat back and I pondered, like, wow, that's one of the things that we really need to work on, making sure that the workforce is ready, so that if a company is looking, where do we go? Where do we go? I said, well, we know that the communities that Prairie State represents, that it's an educated community, that we can get people, qualified people for these jobs. So those are some of the things that I'm paying attention to and having dialogue, but it'd be ongoing.
But that's one of those things, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because if people knew that there were potential jobs at Caterpillar, Ford, any of these companies, then of course, then they would be more motivated to do what they have to do, possibly, as opposed to, get this education and then hope there's a job.
Well, but that's the thing, that even like when I talked to Trustee Brown and Trustee Williams, University Park, they have been going down the spring for a meeting with IDOT, because IDOT is going to eventually build a exit ramp off of University Parkway and I-57. So I asked her, I said, okay, you've been talking to IDOT, but what about the jobs? Anybody in University Park going to get those jobs? I said, so what are you going to do to make sure they're prepared? I said, that's when Prairie State comes in. And that's what the beauty of a community college is, that it can stop on a dime, pivot, create a new program that meets the immediate needs of the community. So I said, hey, reach out to Prairie State, talk to them and see if they have any training programs now that correlate to those type of job opportunities that IDOT will be funding.
Okay, I see. That's good. That's proactive.
And so, some cases, chicken, egg.
Just to interject, and Mary has been saying that to everybody that would listen.
I've been saying it to everybody. My next thing is to stand up on a town center and shout it out. Prairie State, I personally know, I was a student at Prairie State as well. I personally know your electronics program. They bolster about a 99.9% placement. Your electrical program is excellent. Your heating and cooling program, your truck driving program. I don't care what you bring into the world, where you go it, how you move it by airplane, train, or whatever. Once it gets to where it's going, you can't move it without those trucks. There are so many truck driving jobs out here available. But the key thing, getting these jobs out there, you got to know what you're going to hire. You're going to hire a plumber. You're going to hire an industrial plumber. You're going to hire an electrician. And you're going to hire, and I personally know that Prairie State have these programs, because I was also a student there in the electronics program. And I know it's an excellent program. And I know the heating and cooling is good.
Absolutely.
And so there have been some overtures in University Park about starting a technical development center in University Park. But you have the facilities there, you have the educators there, you have everything going right there. They need, has anyone from University Park, other than Ms. Williams, about the adult literacy program, has anyone made any overtures about having maybe a satellite campus in University Park? But me myself as a taxpayer, I think we're overlooking Prairie State. I can't say it enough.
Yeah.
Duplicating.
Well,
Duplicating.
yeah, and that's the thing that you talked about, the forum that you invited all the trustees to. One of the most disappointing things I found throughout the campaign trail is that other than the League of Women Voters, there was only one community out of the 19 that actually invited the candidates out. And I thought it was a shame because it just it also reinforced what I started to believe about people don't really see the significance of that seat. And every community should have those trustee candidates out because it's a very significant and very important and crucial role in our community. And that I think that hopefully going forward that more communities will invite the candidates out to speak. As far as the training program, if I'm not talking to other elected officials and sharing information, maybe half of the elected officials may not even know everything that's going on at Prairie State. I lived in Chicago Heights. I lived down the street from the college, and I can tell you right now, I didn't know 3/4 of the things that college was producing and had going on. And I'm so excited about being able to share that with other elected officials when they may say, hey, we're thinking about doing, well, we do that. Oh, I didn't know you guys did that.
Duplication.
But that also speaks to when I said community involvement. If Prairie State was out there, people would know that. And that's one of the things that I'm going to challenge the institution to make sure you're out there so they know.
So if I invited you to my community, would you come out to my community?
Absolutely.
And let them know the kinds of programs that you have there.
I'll speak to it the best I could, and I would call whomever else and get their expertise to speak to those programs.
Okay, well, after this interview, we're going to sit down and we're going to start, because I'm also a League of Women Voters, and I'm the immediate ex-president of the League, which encompasses Prairie State. And that's why I was trying to work so hard to make sure that the people know what Prairie State has to offer there. And I do know that they don't want duplication. In Prairie State is set up, we don't have a lot of duplications among the community colleges within a certain district. But Prairie State has so much to offer all of these communities out there. It's important that we get involved in. And I'm going to make that one of my missions is to the Mary T. Perspective Show. I'm going to try to have as much information on about Prairie State as I possibly can, and I'm going to ask for your help.
Well, absolutely.
And what's another important thing is always an aside, but it's very important to me, is that as a young person, then the other young people, as you get out there more, and I see your passion, is then there's always an undercurrent that you're not going to speak. You're not going to say, oh, look at me, I'm a college graduate. But that speaks for itself, because as you introduce yourself, one of the things you say is, I'm an educated black man, without saying that. And so the more people in the community, not just blacks, but just people, period, especially male, that see, hey, it's cool to stay in school. And then the fact that they may have not always been on the right path, that if they encounter more and more articulate young men that's out telling them, not only should you be in school, here's the vehicle.
Yeah,
and I think you'll be killing two birds with one stone.
And that's the one thing that I talked to these young men about. And at Prairie State, I said, hey, if you're from Ford Heights, you're from Sauk Village, from Stager, and don't be ashamed about where you come from. If you want to go back home and make a difference, call me and I'll bring some friends. And that's one of the things that, as far as in the black community, there's not enough succession planning. There's not enough. I have a young man who I take with. I have him ride along with me. I say, just ride. just being, because there were some young, older men that just told me, hey, I just want you there. And then you tell me how you can help us. And I think that we don't, that when Martin Luther King was assassinated, the baton dropped and everybody just watched it just bounce and roll around, and nobody picked it up.
And see, in the unspoken message, that when Martin Luther King died, there's so many, there are still successful, intelligent young black people that came along, but it all became about themselves.
Exactly.
And so no one else reached out. Like you said, you grew up in Chicago Heights, so you've taken your education and now you're propelling those who come behind you in Chicago Heights, as opposed to taking your education and now you're this big executive, you're this big corporate person, and then now me. So you're not only being a good example for your young child that you have, but then for the other people, because there's an unspoken message is when there's a successful black man, is that black men can be successful. You don't have to say it, just the fact that they know that you're an educated black man, that's always the message, which they don't get to see enough of.
Oh, absolutely.
The ones that stay in the community are the ones who did not.
Absolutely. And so I hope that in the intermediate, that I can help inspire young men and young women. But our young men are, I mean, we can call it what it is. It's almost, it's genocide. We're going to be extinct. And they need to know that somebody like me, I have friends. One of the things about going to college exposed me to a lot of people who, because they believe in what I'm about, I can call and say, hey, I need your help here.
That's a good message.
And I need your help here. And I'm excited about actually being at the table now, and not have to be looking in a window and not having my voice nor the voices go unheard.
And not only that, when the various college days when you show up, you know, like I say, it's a strong, very powerful message. Not just the fact that you're an educated black man, but you're in the community. Because on college days, they bring in plenty of educated black people, but they're always talking about where they're from and where they used to be. But when you go on career day to Rich East or to Bloom, you don't say I'm an educated black man, because that's going to be a given. You're just, when you start saying, this is what I do for my community, this is what I believe in, there's a person in that audience who's receiving that voice subconsciously, and they don't even realize it at that moment.
And did you tell me that you are a graduate of Rich Central?
Yes.
See?
Yeah, went to Rich Central, and it all started there.
It all started there. Okay.
And like I say, and that's what happened by you standing in the community, that your voice is going to now be the spark for someone else. And the beauty of paying it forward is you don't know that. Yeah. You know, you're just there being yourself, but your presence, you're an educated man. You know, you believe in what you're doing. You have a voice.
Well, it was hollow ground.
Yeah.
And I went to D.C. for the first time in August. And me and the other trustee who attended with me were able to get a tour there. And so as we're walking through, one of the gentlemen who's also security was asking people, hey, do you have any questions? And I'm like, man, we're on hollow ground. You don't have to say nothing. I don't need to know anything. I already know. Slaves built this place. Me being here is enough. I don't need to know anything else. I feel it. And that's what I want our young people to know, that somebody didn't care about who you were. They just did what they knew what was right.
Okay, so we're going to have to come to a close here, but you've told us a lot of things that are going on out there at Prairie State, and I've got a feeling that there are many more stories out there that need to be told, and you have much more to offer the communities. So I'm going to make a vow, and hopefully I can have you come on the Mary T. Perspective Show again and share some more new and exciting things that are going on, and enlighten us a little bit more about your programs as far as the jobs, because that's an immediate, we know that this is going to come. It's not about the chicken coming first egg. So we've got to get some jobs in our community, and how we're going to go about it. But we're going to have you out, and I'm going to venture to try to bring you into the communities, especially into the 12 communities that I serve. And I think some important person, I can't remember the name now, saying service is the rent we pay for living.
And can you conclude with us with a message to our community, to our young black people, that it's possible? And
what do you have to say?
I just say, be true to yourself and love what you do and understand that it's bigger than you.